What is good, Ghost Mafians? Welcome back to the Real Talk Podcast with your host, Mr. Ghost, back at it with another one for you guys, bringing the truth and the facts to the table, shining that light upon the darkness, because it is our job as light bearers of Christ to shed light on evil, for us to do good by exposing what's evil of this world. For quite a while, guys, we've been living in an upside-down world. And this reminds me of Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers and against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realm. This passage really emphasizes what we are facing today, that we're facing the battle of principalities. We are facing the battle of good and evil. Okay? You got one side of the aisle that is really pumping up the rhetoric that the other side are Nazis, gazapos, they are fascists. These are bad, bad people of our society, and we got to rise up against them. And people on the right are looking for an answer. They're trying to look for a reason of why and how do we address this? How do we go against this? Now, it's very easy to go violent for violent, right? Violence for violence. That's the easiest way to do it, correct? But God rejects hatred towards others. God opposes it and makes it very clear in his law that we shall love our neighbor as ourself in Leviticus 19, chapter 18. You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your own people, but you shall love your neighbors as yourself. So the way to handle this situation is to love your enemy, to love them, pray for them, hope nothing but the best for them. Pray that they get the help that they need, the psychological help that they desperately, desperately need, and harbor no bitterness at all. So the other day, about a day ago, we dealt with another shooting, this time at a Texas ICE facility near Dallas. Once again, it is a radical left individual. I had to wait a day or so for me to actually get all the facts. So I had to wait a day simply because I don't go straight out with just rumors, right? And hearsay and gossip. I want to hear the facts. I want the police, law enforcement, to bring out the facts. And I will report on that. So we're going to play a little clip of Fox News breaking the news to the American people on what happened down in Texas. And from there, we'll give you my opinion. Let's rock into this, ladies and gentlemen.
A Fox News alert: reports say 3 people have been critically injured at a Dallas ICE facility after shots rang out this morning.
Police responded to calls around 7 a.m. local time. Agents reportedly approached the suspect, who then apparently shot himself.
Let's go to Griff Jenkins in studio with some of the information that he's learning. Do we have Griff?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Lawrence, Ainsley, and Brian. This is what ICE fears most, and that is an attack on them. Fox can confirm through ICE sources that there was this attack this morning at the Dallas facility. Shots were fired into the sally port of this facility along the freeway there in Dallas, and the ICE confirms that the shooter is down, a self-inflicted wound, and that 3 individuals have been hit. Their condition unknown. We're continuing to try and learn more about this as you look live here and can see the tremendous law enforcement response. But ICE telling me in no clearer way that they call this, quote, a clear attack on ICE. Now, this comes as we have seen a more than 1,000% increase of assaults on ICE officers. And now this morning, tragically, we're learning that this shooter apparently fired indiscriminately into the sally port. Unclear whether ICE officers or detainees or who may have been injured, but at least 3 individuals have been shot. The shooter is down through a self-inflicted wound. We'll bring you more as we get it, guys.
Griff,
So they said violence against ICE agents, federal agents, may I remind you, is way up. Well, why is it way up? See, that has to become a very clear question that we must ask ourselves. Why is this violence against the ICE agents way up? Well, that can be very simply explained when you listen to politicians, right? AOC, for example, teaching people how to avoid ICE. Illegal immigrants, may I remind you. These are illegals that entered our country, broke our U.S. law, right? And we had politicians pretty much helping them. And now we hear politicians speaking out that we must rise up and fight the Gestapo. And we watch politicians break into ICE facilities, bump into ICE agents, assault ICE agents. We've seen lunatics steal their vehicles, pop their tires, throw bricks at them, throw stones at them. It takes a lot of composure of these agents not to fight back. It honestly does. But we must come to fully understand of why this is happening. It's because one side of the aisle is beating up the rhetoric that they are Nazis, they're Gestapos, these are fascists, and we must rise up because we are the good guys. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, the left, you are the bad guys. You are the dark villain in this. You are hurting Americans. You are choosing illegal criminals over your American patriots. You are choosing evil over good. And I believe about time we start holding a lot of these politicians responsible for their rhetoric, inciting riots, inciting violence and murder against the American population. I would go as far as say that they're trying to create an insurrection against the American will, against the American people. We voted to get these people out of our country, to make our country great again, and to put our country back on track to focusing on its people first, making sure our veterans get shelter, get food, get the help. But obviously the left loves when the mentally ill and the criminally insane runs loose on our streets. And well, if you don't have to believe my word for it, I want you to go listen to Mr. Scoomsome himself, Gavin Newsom.
That's happening in the United States of America. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process. No oversight, zero accountability happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism?
Be very clear. People are not disappearing. People are being arrested and brought to detainment facilities and being deported through due process, through court orders of deportation. And you're calling these officers Gestapos? They're unmarked people. I've watched a lot of these ICE agents through a lot of videos, and you guys could look them up yourself. They're wearing marked uniforms. Police, ICE, police, ICE. There's no way this guy is the governor of a very large state of California and he's this stupid. Please let me know in the comments, how dumb is this guy? How did he get elected to office? Did he pull a Kamala Harris? For those who know what I'm talking about, you get what I'm saying. It just, why lie? How can you live with yourself, right? And live day to day looking in the mirror knowing that you're a lying scumbag. God hates a lying tongue. I'm going to make that very clear. God hates a lying tongue. It's authoritarian by arresting criminals. So apparently arresting criminals, it makes you a Nazi. It makes you authoritarian. By the way, I believe a lot of these guys do scream out that they're police. When they go arrest these people, they make it very clear that they are the police. They are ICE. You're being deported. These are not random thugs, Gestapos, running up and bringing people to concentration camps, Mr. Governor. That's not happening. I don't know how you could sit here and lie to your people, lie to the nation. And you know, you flex your hands around like it's going to distract from the bullshit coming from your mouth. I want to see this guy run in 2028 and get completely and utterly annihilated.
You saw what's terrorist organizations.
All right, once again, we got to pause again. Why is he calling you that? So when Charlie Kirk got brutally assassinated in front of his children, what did the right do? Did they burn cities, Mr. Governor? Did they burn cities? Oh, no, they didn't. They prayed. They held vigils. They cried. They hurt. Over 100 million people tuned in to Charlie Kirk's funeral. You wish you could pull those numbers, honey boo boo. but you are a vile scumbag that lies to your people. Your state's in ruins. You completely destroyed your entire state. You're in debt up your rear. You had a surplus, and now you're in debt. California needs to wake up and vote this guy out of office. But, okay, now let's go look at what the left does. When George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose, God rest his soul, right? Unfortunately, that happened. What did the left do? They called upon Antifa. They called upon, Black Lives Matter, and they burned down cities. They pillaged and hurt Americans. We are not the same, Mr. Governor. You are the enemy of the state. And that's just a straight fact. You don't have to be. We can have an open dialogue. We can agree. We could disagree agreeably. I can respect your opinion, but your opinion is kind of bullshit. You talk the talk, right? You say good talking points to your people that love to hear it, the lunatics. Is that why a lot of moderates and centrist Democrats are just leaving your party in droves? But yeah, we're the problem. Now, I'm not saying that when you go look at the statistics, yes, there is some violence on the right. We're not going to say there's not, right? There's about a little over 800. But when there's 21,000 violent acts from the left, we got a crisis on our hand. And it's a mental health crisis. And we as people need to fix this. But let's continue with this BS because I'm on. Yes, okay. Why does he want him out, Mr. Governor? Why? Why does he want him out? Russia Gate? Does that sound a bell? Them lying to the American people, pushing this narrative that Russia interfered when we know that the Clintons paid for the Steely dossier. Like, come on, man. You are not this stupid. There's no way you're this stupid. You remind me of like that jock boy that plays football, but he's the backup quarterback because you just couldn't make it. But you try to act cool, try to say the right things. But all that comes out of your mouth is bullshit lies just so you could fit in with the mentally ill. As I said, guys, there is a lot of evil in our world. But for them to, and the saddest part about this is that they went after these ICE agents, right? This individual shot at the ICE agents and he missed. He killed innocent, well, not, they're criminals, but still innocent people that did not deserve to die. They did not deserve to die. 2 dead, 1 wounded. And then he took his own life. A coward's way. I will never understand the violence and the rhetoric that comes from the other side of the aisle. We are not the same no more. We haven't been for a while. I've been saying it for a while too. That we are definitely not the same. So this ends up coming out from Homeland Security. They end up putting this out. This vile attack was motivated by hatred for ICE. You heard the governor of California, a very far left lunatic, state this. He stated himself. He was pushing hatred and rhetoric towards the ICE agents. Just doing their job, right? This shooting must serve as a wake-up call that the violent rhetoric about ICE has consequences. Comparing ICE day in and day out to the Nazi Gestapo, the secret police, and slave patrols has consequences. Then obviously our President Trump, I have been briefed on a deadly shooting at an ICE field office in Dallas, Texas. It has now been revealed that the deranged shooter wrote anti-ICE on his shell casings. Sounds familiar? We have a terrorist organization committing terrorist acts on the American people, and we swore to defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's about time we give them a hell yeah and a hoorah. Put it in the comments, guys. This is despicable. The brave men and women of ICE are just trying to do their jobs and remove the worst of the worst criminals out of our country. But they are facing an unprecedented increase in threats, violence, and attacks by deranged radical leftists. This violence is a result of radical left Democrats constantly demonizing law enforcement, calling for ICE to be demolished, and comparing ICE officers to Nazis. The continuing violence from radical left terrorists. As I said, radical left, they are terrorists. He's not calling everybody on the left a terrorist. He's talking about the radical left. So this just debunked anything that Mr. Scumbag has said. In the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination must be stopped. ICE officers and the other brave members of law enforcement are given a grave threat. We already declared Antifa a terrorist organization. Hoorah, Mr. President, about damn time. And I will be signing an executive order this week to dismantle these domestic terrorist networks. I'm calling on the Democrats to stop the rhetoric against the ICE and American law enforcement right now. So here we are. We have a president calling upon the end of the violence. Can we have the same from politicians on the left, please? The Trump administration is fully committed to backing law enforcement, stronger borders, securing our homeland, deporting violent illegal criminals, and fully rooting out the left-wing domestic terrorism that is terrorizing our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. But yeah, he's, according to Mr. Newsom over there, he simply said that he's calling all people on the left terrorists. No, you do got a radicalization on your far left. We got men believing that they are women, entering women bathrooms and women's spaces. We got grown men thinking it's okay to go tinkle, 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 winkle in front of little girls. I've watched so much disgusting, vile bullshit over these 10 years. It is making my stomach turn. I do not trust the Democrats. And I'm a former Democrat, by the way. So for people get in the comment sections and start throwing out, oh, you're a right-wing lunatic. No, I was never on the right or the left after I left the Democratic Party. I was right in the middle. Not even an independent. I wasn't even registered for a very long time. But within the next week, I will be registering as a Republican. And no, I'm not doing it for Charlie. I'm not doing it for the president. I'm doing it because this country has shown me that the right has always been on the right side of things. They've always been trying to fight for the American people. I don't understand why people are the way they are. I don't understand why evil is evil. Obviously, Satan's behind it. We could obviously put some like a rational idea behind that. But they don't live in reality. They live in a fantasy land where they think up is down and down is up. They live in a fantasy where they believe that genetics don't matter. They live in a fantasy of mental illness. And for far too long, our society has affirmed their mental illness. How is it love to affirm somebody's illness? How is it love to sit there and call somebody by pronouns that they're not? How is it love to allow somebody to destroy their body? How is it love to murder millions of babies? How is it love to allow our society to hurt our children? This is not what Jesus would want it. This is not what God the Father would want of his people. And it needs to be a wake-up call for many Americans to open their eyes to the injustices. So the FBI director sent out this message. This was the 24th. This morning, just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at the Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing one, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with the Dallas PD and state authorities. While the investigation is ongoing, initial review of evidence shows the ideological motive behind these attacks. The photo below, one of the unspent shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. These despicable, politically motivated attacks against law enforcement are not a one-off. That's a key word, guys, that Mr. Patel is catching on, that this is an organized attack on the American people, that we are at war with terrorism. We are only miles from Pearland, Texas, just where 2 months ago an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility, targeting their officers. It has to end. And the FBI and our partners will lead these investigation efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thank you. No law enforcement personnel were injured. Please pray for the injured and deceased. So that's confirmation that the deceased, ladies and gentlemen, are unfortunately the criminals themselves. It is very unfortunate that they lost their lives. And I pray for their families. I pray for their loved ones, their friends. I pray for the community of Dallas. I pray for the United States of America. But this is our wake-up call. No, I'm not calling for violence, but we need to be aware that we are being hunted down. Whether you're Christian or on the right, they are coming for our blood. If you think you could intimidate me to deny my Jesus Christ or to deny my beliefs in the Constitution of the United States of America, well, honey boo boo, you are just going to F around and find out. Because trust me, the finding out part is going to be even funner for me and for every American that stands for freedom in this land. Because we are granted opportunities. We have inalienable rights in this country for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't care with what you want to do in your bedroom. I don't care who you want to marry. Do I believe it goes against God's law? 100%. It's an abomination to our God the Father, but I don't hate you for it. I will tell you, if we have a heart-to-heart conversation, I'm not going to sit there, yeah, you're doing perfectly fine. Yeah, good for you. No, I'm going to tell you. You continue this path, my brother, my sister. God will judge you. And it will be fair, but it will be just. And you will get your wish of internal separation from the Father. Because you can't live for this world and worship this world and try to worship our God the Father and his Holy Son, Jesus Christ, who is our God as well. You cannot do both, ladies and gentlemen. Just can't. So this guy posted this. They're all Nazis. They're all Nazis. Rock concerts. They're all Nazis. And the last part, you saw it. They're all Nazis. When people are mentally ill and you throw this propaganda, this is what this is. This is propaganda. This is why when that podcast is coming up very soon on the Smith-Mundy Act, I'm going nuclear on Barack Obama. And this is why I believe he needs to be criminally charged with treason and brought to justice, because I believe that he is the reason why our country is the way it is today. We're going to watch another snippet from Fox News identifying the shooter, and we'll go on from there. Back to the small cam, ladies and gentlemen. Let's rock and roll.
And then you have the shooter, who sources identified to Fox News as 29-year-old Joshua John. We're trying to find out more about this individual who takes a gun. Looks like, according to the stripper clip that we saw a picture of posted by the FBI director, that it was just a typical hunting rifle with a capacity of 5 cartridges. Takes that weapon, aims it at the ICE facility, starts firing at will, and then takes their own life. And is it this rhetoric that people just keep doubling down on that suddenly causes someone to snap?
Once again, we have a shooter on a roof, perched up, shooting down at the Sally Port. And this guy, listen, I'm not trying to make light of this situation and try to poke fun at it. But imagine walking into the gates of hell, thinking you're going to get a warm welcome. That's not going to happen. But just imagine you failed. That you think that these gazapos are harming innocent people, but then you killed the innocent people because you just can't really identify, or I'm not sure what your motive was or why you're shooting indiscriminately. Just once again, we have an idiot with the gun. And the ironic part about this is that his family is very anti-gun. They don't own guns. From what I've found out and what I've noticed, they don't own guns. So he got this gun from somewhere. Somebody is supplying these people with these weapons. Somebody is paying these people. This is being funded by something. Soros? We'll find out.
With kind of borrowing a little bit from my behavioral analysis friends,
guys, look,
you
they're
just
not even
don't know
wearing
what reaches
proper
a
stuff, right?
individual and what breaking point they
saying,
have.
you could tell they're
And
law
although many
enforcement.
people can kind of flick this rhetoric off as being just that, political rhetoric, it does affect a number of people. And I think today, John, with all of the various sources that people are getting information, or ones that maybe want to lock themselves into with regard to social media or news outlets, and they're hearing it over and over again, the fragility of people where they are at any particular moment may lead them to commit one of these acts. But the other thing, too, John, as we look into this investigation, and the FBI is doing this right now, is to find out, where did this person, where were they getting this information from? Where was he being, if you want to call it, kind of radicalized to conduct one of these acts? Who was he around? Was he talking to other people about this? It's the same thing they're going through right now, still on the heels of the investigation of the Charlie Kirk assassination, is to find out who else might be in the orbit of this person who may have either encouraged, provided information, in any way knew about these plans and didn't come forward. So, there's still a lot of stones to be turned over in this investigation.
So, very unfortunately, innocent people lost their life. This scumbag, this vile human being that decided to do evil's work, shall not succeed. We will get to that vehicle and that post and why we're gonna go back to it twice. We're gonna look at it, then towards the end we're gonna go back to it, and I'm gonna give a warning to the American people. I'm gonna give a warning to all of those who live in this land, because something big is being planned. But we'll talk about that in a second. It's just a hunch. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I hope I am. But my tentacles in my brain are going off about war. So obviously the rhetoric that's been pumped into these people's head has corrupted their souls. For far too long we have watched, one after another, these radical left terrorists of Antifa attack the American cities, attack the American people, attack our law enforcement. The Democrats for years have been calling for defunding of the police, letting criminals roam free. That poor Ukrainian lady, once again, I'll mention it, the criminal, evil human being, was once again given bail, let back on the streets from multiple sources being reported on that. But obviously, evil is evil. And you're never going to side with evil. You're never going to unify with evil. This is a war of principalities, ladies and gentlemen. And we must arm our brains, stay alert, stay visual. If you see something, say something. If you see somebody on a rooftop, call it out, scream it out. Don't take things in your own hands. Just have hope that law enforcement do their job, which I believe they will, in good faith. All right, that's the wrong camera. There we go. All right, so here we have, obviously the New York Post released this, that his sister has a criminal past, including a weed bust. Left hates lead to murder. Anti-ICE. After months of Dems calling ICE Nazis, crazed shooter targets them but kills a migrant. This was early on. I believe now there's 2 deceased. We're going to roll into the next one. This is they found who he was. This is this individual. And I'll be honest, guys, he does look like an innocent person. Like he would be a sweet person, right? But something so evil corrupts their weak spirit that they turn it to evilness. And yeah, I do believe that he's a nut job. He's mentally ill, obviously. Then obviously he believes in the communism. He believes in the Russia propaganda. Once again, we'll jump on to another one. This is obviously another confirmed report that it was a 29-year-old named Joshua Kahn from Fairview, Texas, fired shots from a rooftop at a Dallas ICE field office early Wednesday, killing 1 non-citizen detainee and critically injuring 2 others. I believe 2 died. 1 is still in the hospital. He died from a self-inflicted wound, with authorities recovering the shell casings marked anti-ICE, suggesting an ideological motive. The incident occurs amid a report of surge threats against the ICE facilities throughout our country, guys. Obviously, just to confirm, he sold the Dallas shooter, Joshua Khan, voted Democrat repeatedly, pro-communist profile pic, poor aim. I think that's kind of, obviously his aim wasn't that bad. He did end up taking the life of 2 innocent people. The leftist message on the bolus, sister dating TMF. Here we go with this again, guys. Transgender. Mom Sharon Wan posted anti-Trump rants on Facebook. Anything else missing? Obviously, I think that's the sister dating another woman. And yeah, no, I'm not going to live by that rhetoric. Once again, let's get back into it. So look at this, guys. Be an Antifa libtard. You know, I call them libtards because they're just dumb. They're so spiritually weak. Tries to ambush ICE agents, shoots 3 migrants instead. He offs himself. Obviously, people are just, releasing information after information. Comes from a liberal, biracial family. I don't have to repeat this top part. You already heard it numerous times. I'm not going to repeat the rhetoric because it is truth. Liberal, biracial family in Fairfield, Texas. His mother is critical of gun laws. The irony of that in her state. His sister, Kyoko Khan, is a woke woman who is a supporter of rhetoric. The 3 people shot at the ICE facility ended up being migrant detainees. 2 of them have died. The attack occurs in the context of months of Democrat politicians, liberals, and leftists encouraging violence directed against ICE, Antifa, and the far left extremists have been releasing names, photos, and addresses of agents. Another reason why we really want to, in our society, keep our agents masked, keep their identities protected for the sake of their children. Because a lot of us real men don't care if we lay our lives down for our fellow man. Because that's what we swore an oath to do, right? But our families don't deserve it. Our family deserves to be protected. And I have faith in my God Almighty that He's going to shield my children. He's going to shield my family. But if I got to lay my life down for the freedom of this country, I will. So this just continuously tells you the rhetoric is getting people killed. So obviously releasing urgent comrades to kill them. In July, members of the North Texas Antifa cell allegedly carried out a shooting ambush on an ICE facility in Alvarado. 1 officer was shot in the neck, but narrowly survived. Thank God, hallelujah. I remember this. The nightly violent attacks on ICE facilities in Portland by Antifa remains ongoing. So we're going to take a look at some of this again. This is the bullet. This is the mother. Governor Abbott, Senator Corran, Senator Cruz. How does it make you feel that the action of the open gun laws? There's no open gun laws. Like, this is how stupid these people are. We have laws in place. Can they be a little bit stricter? Can they be a little bit more better than what they are? Of course they can be. The gun's not the issue. The issue is mental illness and the people that are able to get guns when they shouldn't have guns. That's the issue. Is responsible for the killing of 21 more people. Do you secretly sit in front of your TV and smile a demented smile? You must be proud of all the money that sits in your bank accounts from gun lobby support. Was it worth it, Governor Abbott? How about you, senators? When you prioritize money over people, this is what you get. Here is my hope. May you be reminded of the deaths every time you spend that precious blood money you have received from the gun lobby. Hope you think of it 100% when you attend the NRA meeting in a few days. Senator Corran, I realize you suddenly had something to do in D.C. come up where you won't be attending. Unfortunately, you don't even have a spine to stand up to the NRA and tell them the real reason you aren't attending. You are a coward, a spineless coward. Why have our government officials failed us? The lust for money and power. It is time we vote out spineless tools and bring in people who actually care about other people. So you want more Democrats in charge? You really want more Democrats that are going to want criminals run loose? I find the irony of this. You're talking about blood money, right? When most of the violence over these past 10 years has been committed by far left lunatics, mentally ill people. Your son now has blood on his hands. You failing to raise your son as a young man of our society. This is why fathers, I'm going to assume the father's not even in the picture. I don't know much, but you guys can let me know in the comments. I don't think the father's even in the picture. Based upon the way the family is, I hardly doubt it. This is why having a father in the household is crucial. In the name of Charlie Kirk, get married, have children, be God-centered. Raise your children to be God-centered. This will end the evil in our society. You call these politicians cowards and spineless, but isn't that what your son is? He took the life of innocent individuals, then took his own life. He's a coward. He's a snake. And I pray for you, Sharon, that you seek redemption through your Lord Jesus, even if you believe. I pray that you look in the mirror every night and know that your son ended up taking his own life because he couldn't live with the reality of prison, because he couldn't live with the reality of what he'd done. You have no room to talk at all when it comes to your rhetoric. And obviously, this is your daughter dating another woman. So as I said earlier on, this is a radioactive fallout map, or it could mean more. There are numerous nuclear power plants on the West Coast. He could be hinting at something that he does know, and he took himself out before he could be interrogated to determine what he knows. I just got an airy feeling sitting in the bottom of my gut that this is not over. This violence is not over. It is not going to be over until we put our foot down with the Antifa and the extreme violence of the left. You know, obviously somebody put here what he's got against Arizona. Somebody obviously made it very clear this is probably the nuclear fallout. You know, he believed it was a lie to cover it up. Sometimes the answer is mentally ill is not logical, though clearly ideological. Messaging to the mentally ill can impact actions. This is probably the best statement. This is probably the best statement that we could actually have, that there are mentally ill people within our society that are obviously being fed all these lies, and they will believe it. And eventually they're going to snap and they're going to do something. And that's the danger of propaganda. Then obviously, this guy simply said every Democrat is trying to figure out how this guy could be on the right wing side of things, and obviously we already know that he is radicalized. He's wearing always queer, always Antifa. Antifa now designated as a terror organization. Obviously, this is another thing that we have to look at, is that we are seeing a pattern of behavior. All of this is organized. These are organized attacks. It doesn't take a general. It doesn't take a genius to start understanding that these are symptomatic attacks throughout the U.S. and that we are at war with an evil ideology. And the only way you're going to end that war is by good people speaking up, spreading awareness, and just simply telling people to be safe. Don't listen. Violence is never going to be solved with more violence. Obviously, if it came down to a civil war, we already know who was going to win that side of things. We already know who's going to win. But that's not going to solve the issue in this country. Prayer, love, compassion, and just hope that our Lord Jesus Christ can turn this around. Because he will. Over time, this will be handled. But stay vigilant. Always stay aware. If you see something, say something, do something. If you see somebody on a rooftop that doesn't really belong there, they're acting kind of weird, call it out, do something by reporting it to the police and making sure that we can bring an end to the violence. Trump said it. We have to bring an end to the violence. Enough is enough. We're all Americans at the end of the day. Now, if you don't want to align with our ideas, our beliefs, our way of life, that's fine. We have to disagree respectfully. We have to coexist. But until the violence ends, there can't be coexistence with evil. Honestly, I don't think there could ever be coexistence with evil, because they're two opposite things in our society. So always remember, guys, the only way you're going to overcome this is with love in your neighbors and not having any revengefulness in your heart, and don't be bitterness. Remember how Charlie would want it. Dialogue. That's the biggest key we need. We need to have open conversation in this within our society. We need to start addressing the elephant in the room. Mental illness in the U.S. has to be dealt with ASAP. Start taking all these people who are mentally deranged in the head, start putting them inside institutions and get them the help they need. Because it is not compassion when you affirm somebody's mental illness or when you affirm somebody's, derangement. You're just feeding into the monster. Stop feeding the monster and get them the help they need. Don't forget to subscribe, bell notification, hit that like button. And guys, into the next podcast, I'll see you all then. God bless you guys. Have a good evening.